Welcome, Councillor Clark. Welcome to the meeting. Please all be upstanding as I read the council prayer. Almighty God, as members of the Rangitikei District Council, we give thanks for all the good things of our district and the advantages we enjoy. We pray that you'll give us wisdom and guidance as we conduct the affairs of this meeting. We pray for all our communities and the district we represent. Help us to be fair and honest in our discussions and help us to work together in unity for the welfare of all your people. Amen. Thank you, councillors. Once again, welcome. I have received apologies from Councillor Sharland. Looking around the room, I think everybody else in the committee is here and present. We have not received any public forum. I have no notification of public forum today.
Can we move those apologies?
Sorry, I was just thinking you were going to say that. So I'll move from the chair. Those apologies be accepted. Seconded, Councillor Carter. All those in favour? Aye. Again, that motion is carried. Thank you. Public forum, no notification of public forum. Conflict of interest, team, we're all aware of those. Please raise it at the time during the meeting if you feel you have one. Nothing to declare now from anybody? Seeing none, no conflict of interest declared. Confirmation of order of business. We will be taking a slight change of order of business from that of the order paper. We will be taking a presentation from Steve Kahn, re the Martin to Bulls wastewater connection work that's been going on in the background. We will take that presentation from Steve, who's in the room with us. Welcome, Steve. And we will take that following the follow-up actions. Moving through to confirmation of minutes. Those minutes have been circulated to you all. I note that we do have a workshop following this meeting, so looking to proceed through. I'm not going to go through those minutes line by line. I'm fairly confident you would have all read them. Does anybody have any notes pertaining to the minutes as being circulated? Your worship, the Mayor, Andy.
Yeah, page 12 under 10.2. This is the highlight of the compliance of E. coli is usually due to rainfall events, making UV difficult to work. Noting this does not mean that water is not suitable to drink. Is that just the way it's written? Could people assume then that there is E. coli in the water supply?
That's a good question. That was on page 12.
Page 12, 10.2, second paragraph there.
10.2. Just grabbing that now. Any comment on that, Mr. Bernardi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with his worship. The way it's written, it does sound like that's exactly what we're saying. So maybe we should clear that up by saying it doesn't mean that there are any E. coli in the water supply and it's still safe to drink.
Okay. Good. Would you be happy, your worship, if that was captured in the meetings of this, rather than trying to amend a meeting that was previously held, or how would you like to deal with that?
However, you as chair wishes to do.
I think if we could just capture that.
Want people going out saying, we've got E. coli in our water.
That's a good point. And I can see that the way that's worded, it could cause some confusion. So if we could capture that from 10.2 of the previous minutes, that some clarity was sought and has now been clarified.
And what we can show you through you, Chair, is just update the wording in those minutes as well. I'm sure that that's clear.
Okay. Anything further from those minutes? Thank you for your worship for raising that, Councillor Loudon.
Page 10, Dunnings Lake, community buildings. Is there any update on the background to that? It was going to be a report produced at some stage.
Is that in note now? Follow-up actions, I believe.
I can reply to that. We are on that report, but we're not in a position yet to bring it back to council. The minute we got all the information packaged back together, it'll come back. Yep.
We could pick that up, Councillor Loudon, when we get to those and add it to there if it's not on that report, but thank you. Anything further from those minutes? Seeking a mover that they be true and correct record. Moving Councillor Duncan, seconding. Councillor Wong, all those in favour? Against, that motion is carried, subject to those comments being captured as previously in that discussion. Thank you. We're now moving on to the item number 7 on today's agenda, which is the follow-up actions list from previous meetings. There are a number there. There are a number completed. I'll just run from the top. Item number 1 says in progress. Any comment from, any clarity sought there, Your Worship?
Just with regard to this, ask that the councillors be kept in the loop. This is quite an active area of conversation with regard to Horizon scheme meetings as well. So I think there needs to be some link between that and this work, so everybody understands their roles.
All right, thank you. I think I will reference as I go through these items, of which there are 11, particularly for those online. Item 1 references Tukanui flood modelling project. Item number 2, which is digital sites cleaned across the network. That there is now being completed. Information has been shared. Members are happy with that item. That item now being completed can be removed from the action list. Not seeing anybody disagreeing with that. Number 3, implications of road stopping. It's being completed. Any questions with regards to that? And that information has been circulated.
Was that circulated just to Councillor Moore or across?
I believe I saw it circulated wider than that, Your Worship.
Yeah, I can provide
Everybody?
comment that was uploaded on the EM Hub. So there's that spot on the EM Hub with all the information requests. That's on that spot there.
Okay, so that was item 3, implications of road stopping. So if that's been circulated, we're happy we can remove that from that list. Hawkstone Road fire hydrant in progress. Sorry, Councillor.
What was built over it?
Sorry.
What was built over it?
It was this is relationship to the fire hydrant.
Yeah.
It wasn't built over it. It was an Armco barrier that
Oh.
didn't enable access to it.
Oh, right.
So the fire hydrant was there, but there was an Armco barrier that had been put up. It was being followed up by our roading manager, Darren Black. Investigations completed, options are being considered. Any comment on that one, Darren? Saying is in progress.
Yeah, it wasn't a particularly well planned job. Was built over asbestos water main. So if it's hit, we could burst the pipe. So we're going to look at an option to get rid of it.
Okay.
Other options there.
So that could stay on the actions list while we're still
We're working on it.
proceeding.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Item number 5, comms strategy and workshop that is in progress. Workshop in progress on comms update. We finalised early in July. We have a presentation with regards to that further in today's meeting. So we'll move on to that. Item number 6. What was that one? That's in progress. Pathway Killico line. Any further updates on that apart from it being scheduled to start in November? Sometimes that's still the plan.
Yes, there is an update.
You can have, yeah.
So there's a water main renewal planned. So the water main goes up the other side of the road. Speaking with Arno and Peter Sharp, we're going to combine the 2 jobs into one, so we could put the water main on the other side under the footpath and combine the works.
Yeah, that seemed to make sense to everybody. Thank you for that. We'll keep an eye on that one for further updates. Item number 7, future options for proposed alternative water source. Listed as in progress. Analysts expected end of July. Update, Anna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we've sent waters off for chemical analysis. I haven't seen the results yet. It could be, it's gone through Andrew Van Bussel, and obviously Andrew's had a bad fall at home. He's off. He's been off from work for some time, or at least the last 3 weeks. So I'll just follow up with him and be sure we have.
We'll keep that on the list. It's I understand there's some work's being done, but my feeling is it's not a critical one, particularly if we have a staff member that's been injured at this stage. Your Worship, comment?
I'd just like to thank the landowners, whether this plays out or not. It's nice that they have actually thought to engage with us to say here is a potential option for you to consider in the future. So it's just a thank you. Thank Councillor Duncan, Councillor Wong, going up and having a look at it. Look, potentially amazing.
Just one example.
Councillor Duncan.
Just so that I know that I have been asked about those water samples, so it just if that communication can go back that way as well. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Duncan. That will stay live on our action list. Item number 8, Martin Water Strategy. Council, I'd like to understand the guarantees with the contractor. My understanding is there has been a large amount of work going on with the team, and I note that there has been a press release out with a progress update, which you would have all seen, which touches on where that's at. That item, which is number 8, still showing us progress. Clearly, we need to keep a focus on that. So that will stay on this agenda as an action list for further updates. Mr. Vidadi, are you happy with that?
I am very happy with that.
And thank you for your work that's been going on in the background with you and your team. I know that it has caused some delays, but I'm happy that we've been double checking and triple checking and making sure that our process is right around this matter. Item number 9 is the idea of having an open day out at the treatment plant at some stage. I still hope that that can happen in the future, but we need to get some things in place first. But I think that is a great idea. So I think that should stay on the agenda to see if that is practicable to do that and get some greater understanding of what Martin's Water Source actually is and what the new one's going to be. So we'll leave that one live. Item number 10, also listed in progress. That was a requirement from government, I think, around the LTSA around traffic management costs. Have you got any further comment on that between Darren and yourself as to where that one's sitting?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a good question. It's an ongoing requirement for us to report on the cost of traffic management. I think the question just for the Assets and Infrastructure Committee is how long do we leave it on as a follow-up action?
So we have to report quarterly. With the way the Higgins contract was set up, it was very difficult to report that accurately. We'll be able to do that better from now on. There's also the change in the whole way that we undertake traffic management. So we're looking at a risk-based approach rather than a prescriptive, you will do this. So things will change on that side of things.
Good. Mr. Chair, may I suggest that we could roll that up in the reporting that will come to the committee as part of the roading reporting on a quarterly basis. So as we report to central government, we'll report to you as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty fair place to put it. It is, at the end of the day, a very operational matter. I don't think it's something that we need to be looking at as an individual item. It's an operation matter. So we can just bring it back in quarter reports. I think that is appropriate, in which case I'd suggest that gets removed from the action list in that space, Your Worship.
There was a ministerial direction for us to understand this.
But I believe we can capture it through a quarterly report along with the reporting that is required. So if we're happy, we can drop that off that action list. Councillor Loudon.
Just, you mentioned that you're moving towards a risk-based process as opposed to a prescriptive process. Are you inferring that it's cheaper to go for a risk-based assessment?
Through Chairman, yes. In our situation, when you're working rurally, we can have, as long as we're assessing the risk, we can have stop, toot and wave type operations where, at the moment under the current guidance, we would have full traffic management. So in some cases, yes, but in other cases, it will be the same.
Your Worship.
Yes, you also need to look at the options around whether it is more cost effective to close roads rather than traffic management. As part of a package.
Yeah, good point. Councillor Dalgety.
Is this the appropriate time to bring up? I'm interested in understanding our consent process a little bit better and how we might be able to be more efficient around that. I understand, I would be interested to find out what percentage of our consents are outsourced.
What consents are you talking building consents?
Yeah, sorry, building consents.
So building consents.
Yeah.
When you say outsourced, is that?
So I understand we have a team in-house but some are outsourced.
Okay, so the question is what percentage of building consents are treated in-house and what are outsourced? That's the question.
Mhm.
So you'd like that added to the action list to seek an
Yeah.
answer to that, unless you can give that answer to us
Mm.
now, Mr. Bernardi? I suspect not.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, unfortunately, it's not one of the activities that falls under my
Okay.
supervision.
Yeah.
But what I can do is
Is
ask.
that within the A&I? I wasn't sure.
No, it's actually not.
We'd come back through to full council, I would have thought that was it.
My suggestion, I work with Mr. Cullis around bringing that to policy planning would be the relevant committee.
Thank you.
To share that information.
Thank you very much.
So does that need to be captured on our action list? No, you'll just take that will come through to the policy and planning?
Yeah,
Get an understanding of that?
What I'll do is I'll put it on our admin
Yes.
actions,
Yes.
which you won't see reported to the committee to get that through to policy planning.
Oh,
Councillor Duncan, you're happy with that as an action to move forward?
thank you very much.
And the final one on the action list here is the Taihape Community Board regarding the feasibility of disability parks in town signed at citizen progress. That's dealing largely with NZTA Whakakotahi. I'm assuming that's in your camp. Darren, any updates on that? Complex one, I'm sure. It's something that you're still working with and in contact with. Okay, so we're happy to leave that there as it is work in progress. Okay. Any further comments regarding the action list? So a few of those removed. Councillor,
I believe that councillor Wong had something he wanted to put on that list from emails.
Is this the right time to bring up? To do with the project, the
the
erection of the
Gumboot one.
of the sun shelter at the Gumboot Throwing Lane in Taihape. The shelter's been erected, and one of the local ratepayers was interested if the about where the supply of the materials came from, because this person was in the business of supplying those sort of materials.
Okay, is that the shelter that you're referring to, and and it's in your patch, so
It's in our
forgive me
patch.
for not understanding it. Has that been an RDC project?
A joint project between the council and the Taipi Area School. So just for the information stage, it's
I don't know that would be something that would need to be on an action list. I think perhaps you could share that information would be the best way for that, looking around for suggestions of that. I'm not sure that that's, unless this is going to be an ongoing.
no, I think
project.
it's just an inquiry because it's contrary to our procurement policy that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's,
What I can
I'm
do
not
is
conscious
I'll
of
put it on the admin action list for information to be circulated to
Yeah.
councillors.
it.
Would you be happy with that?
I think so. That
Mr. Wong,
sounds fine.
Mr. Wong, it just doesn't seem to me as though that's an ongoing action list
Yeah.
requirement, that one.
Sure.
Your worship.
On a similar level, Bulls Community Committee raised the significant potholes, State Highway 3 Bulls outside the Waitomo fuel station. If that could be passed on to NZTA, please.
Is that at last night's meeting, your worship? Okay, thank you. for that.
Action required. I can tick the box and say that I've raised.
Yes, okay. Yeah, rather than us waiting for their minutes to come through to us, which we won't look at or see for another month or so. So thank you for raising that. Darren, you happy to follow that one up if you can?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Good round of discussion, and good to see some of those action lists being removed. I'll move from the chair the action list being received. Secondly, councillor Carter. All those in favour?
Right.
That motion is carried. Thank you. Chair's report. I've got nothing to report. Today's meeting is really much a business as usual meeting, just noting that we do have Steve Kahn about to give us a presentation on the water, and that we do have a workshop this afternoon scheduled for 11. So just before we go, your worship.
Yeah, it's your report. Just a late item of notification to council. Ruapehu District Council voted yesterday in terms of local water done well to go with Wanganui. But the second option for them is to go with Horowhenua, ourselves and Palmerston North City if Wanganui, as suspected, may go alone. So I was just asked to pass this on to the
we
team,
can,
and so that covers where that's at.
if we can have that recorded, and I'll happily have that recorded as my report. Thank you, Your Worship. But if we could have that recorded and captured, and that's a space that we're just still going to have to wait and see what plays out as Wanganui decision is still pending.
Sorry, I couldn't tell you earlier.
Yeah, no, happy to
What was the
receive that.
date of the Wanganui decision, please?
Tuesday.
The mayor did, it was a 6-4 vote. He said that he personally supported going with the wider region, but lost 6-4. He did say that one councillor took the view that they should go Wanganui because they play rugby together.
Valid point.
Yeah, I think we'll park that. We'll move on with our meeting. Councillor.
I'm just interested, when does Wanganui make their decision was my question.
So my understanding is Wanganui makes the decision, it's either this week or next week.
If I can pull the committee in, that is planned for Tuesday morning, the 15th of July.
Thank you.
Okay,
So certainly if Wanganui go alone, they put on record that they will come.
Okay. Well, let's see how that all pans out. So we welcome Steve to the table. Steve, you're going to be now working through an update on our Martin to Bulls wastewater project updates, as well as some other updates across the network.
Thanks, Dave. The three wastewater projects I'm involved in, I just thought it'd be timely to update the committee on just where they're at. Can we get that in presentation mode?
Yeah, we did.
So it's just a little projection screen down on the right hand corner. Yeah, that one. Yep. Just one. Oh, what's going on there? No, that's right. That's right. Because it will just run through the slides as they are. They're not complex slides. So I've got for the next half hour, I just want to update the committee on just where some of these things are at. Thank you. Is it so? I'm just seeing if I can advance that. So I was here in this committee meeting in April, I think it was, and talked about the discharge standards. I just want to precede the detailed discussion about just where they're going and my own insights into those. Look at what we're doing at Taihape, at Ratna, and then the Martin to Bulls centralisation projects. All right, in that order. The last one's, there's more going on there than the other two, so we'll cover the first two. So you may recall seeing this slide in April, at the committee meeting in April. So the Tomato ROI deregulator is looking at specific discharge standards to water, to land, biosolids and networks. I'm advising them at the moment on the network component as a separate consultancy, because I've done a lot of work in this network management stuff over the years. So all this is very relevant across the district, as I alluded to last time, not only for Martin to Bulls, but the other town systems as well. And I'll just cover that or recap on that in subsequent slides. So the really interesting thing, as I say, I covered this slide in the 10th of April meeting of this committee. So this is a table straight out of the draft standards, the consultation document, that has the different requirement for the typical contaminants that we deal with, a BOD, suspended solids, nitrogen, phosphorus, and ammonia. Now there's 7 different types of waterways that they have got in the standards, and depending on where you are and what sort of waterway you're discharging to, there's either and which way you look at it, there is increasing or decreasing tolerable levels of these contaminants. Okay, and so for Martin to Bulls, we're looking at these sorts of ones. It's a question of there's a moderate dilution and a high dilution regime. And we're just on the cusp, I think, between the moderate and high dilution, depending on what we do in the network. One of the interesting things I did put up, and you recall, these are the current One Plan standards. Okay, they're onerous, and you can see the difference. Some of these contaminants are yeah, the one plan standards are like tenfold more severe than what's now being proposed, 5 to 10-fold more severe than what's being proposed.
So sorry, so that 5 relates to those
Those particular,
numbers, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
5 versus 15 to 20. That's where
for,
we're at.
yeah. So, yeah, for BOD, we're looking at either 15 to 20 milligrams per litre, in the discharge, whereas one plan's saying 5.
Yeah. And everyone's saying the one plan's impossible.
Well, anything's possible depending on how much money you throw at it, you know.
Sorry, unaffordable.
Yeah. Sorry.
Your worship, you got a question?
Yeah, my understanding in this is it still has a fair way to go before you reach a classification of, for instance, the sections of the Rangitikei River as to which standard applies, and also that it will be dependent on flow in terms of dilution.
Yeah, and I'll talk that through with the options for Martin de Bulls, because there's options to reduce the discharge by, I'll get into this subsequently, but you reduce the amount of the discharge, so therefore the dilution factor is higher. And therefore you drop into this, so you spend the money on the network and get yourself into this zone here rather than this zone here. And therefore the treatment's less. So it's better to spend the money on the network or the treatment plant. And is prevention better than cure? I'll talk about that when we get into Martin de Bulls. Now,
Just hang on a minute, I see lots of hands going up, but can we perhaps hear some of this presentation? Can we take some notes? If you want to, but rather than stop starting at every slide, asking a question, we might want the answers may bring themselves out. So I'd really like to let Steve continue.
the other pertinent point is there's provisions in these standards for what they're calling small plants, sorry. So and all but Martin and Bulls combined, council looks like being able to qualify for a small plant discharge, and those standards are more relaxed again than those ones you see there. Okay. So I'm gonna, like I was saying last time, I think in terms of cost, at least purely cost this is a good news story for the ratepayers. I'll keep moving through. So I talk about the small plant standards. They've removed the requirement in the draft at the moment. Now I've had a lot of dialogue, one-on-one dialogue with Tomato Oi, because they're getting me to help them with the network component of these. But for the specific needs of this project, the Martin de Bulls project, they've clarified the draft at the moment, and I can't see this changing. They've taken out the nitrogen and phosphorus contaminant limits for small plants. And so they're only looking at ammonia, BOD and suspended solids. All right, so those smaller systems in the district, they all apply. They will easily qualify for what's called a small plant. And then Taiapi probably, we're just trying to check that out. I think it will, but yeah. But Martin de Bulls obviously is too large to be categorised as a small plant. Martin and Bulls. Bulls wouldn't get there. Bulls wouldn't get there on their own, on its own either. Yeah.
Well, I thought earlier that you said that Martin Bulls did apply to small plant.
Not the small plant standards council. No. That goes back into one of these categories here. Whereas the small plant ones are actually more are less onerous than those standards.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is, and the small plant the smaller systems and most likely Taiapi as well. All right. So just on Taiapi, I'll cover this as a specific project. We're doing some work on them. That plant struggles, particularly in winter, to reach to adhere to the consent requirements, the current consent requirements. People are aware there was an upgrade done to the membranes there last year. The treatment process sequence was changed during that process. Now, the Papakai pump station storage was built over the past couple of years. I suspect what's actually happened there, what was formerly in wet weather in particular, what was formerly overflowing in the network because of the upgrade of that pump station, what was formerly overflowing, those volumes were overflowing in the network are now getting transported to the treatment plant. They're not overflowing in the network anymore. That's good, but they're now further stressing the treatment plant out. So we're developing the solution as we go down the chain, if you like. So now the solution is the problem is at the treatment plant. Whereas before, there was less of a problem in the treatment plant because a lot of it was overflowing uncontrolled upstream of the treatment plant. So that's a positive step, but now we've just got, at least now, the problem area is ring fenced to one location, okay? So there's a number of operational problems there we're sorting through. And but the thing that's really hammering that plant is the inflow and infiltration in the network during wet weather, okay? So the system is old, it is leaking inwards when it rains, if people understand that. And we talk about inflow, that's a direct stormwater connections, if you like. That's what we call inflow. And infiltration is where, due to wet ground, either groundwater or rain, there's cracks and joints are opened up in the pipes, that stuff seeps in. Whereas inflow is like a direct connection. Infiltration is more what seeps in over time.
And sorry, we're experiencing both up there.
Oh, big time. Yeah. I've done a lot of work in this space in the industry. I wrote the manual for New Zealand and the manual in Australia. So I'm pretty comfortable talking about this and providing maybe advice as to how you get over it. So it's overloading the plant. It's overloading the ponds. It's overloading the membranes and the clarifiers. And I'll talk about, at least with Taipi, where we're going. So that red dashed line there, there's two axes here, okay? There's the flow on the left and the BOD load on the right. The red dashed line is that 85 kilograms per day BOD limit. So something happened at the start of last year, and I haven't quite worked it out, and that's why we want to do a bit more testing, that the BOD levels are a lot lower than what they used to be. And at the moment, this is council's routine consent compliance monitoring data. It's easily getting within that small plant limit, okay? But I still haven't satisfied myself as to why that shift has happened. I just want to make sure it's not a sampling error.
Well, it seems to be fairly steady.
Yeah, well, that's right. There's 12 months of data, councillor. So it's not like it's a one-off thing, you know. So I just want to verify. And the data since then, that was done, that was only in February was the last data set, but it's consistent. So I'm just trying to work out what's going on. So we're going to do a little bit of work for an enhanced sampling program there just to verify that and make sure we are under that, in that small plant standard. So there's a short-term fix, which is sorting out some of the operational problems and the alerts and alarms and process realignment. And there's a long-term strategy that is, we're awaiting finalisation of those small plant standards. Tomato ROI told me just last week that they're still trying to hit middle of August for the finalisation of the standards. So it's not that far away. When I said that those BOD and suspended solid standards are relaxed for a small plant, compared to that table I had up there, they haven't actually published yet what they're relaxed to. Okay. Once we know that, we can assess, well, what else, if anything, needs to be done at that plant. I suspect, to be honest, what I'm seeing at the moment, if we can reduce the inflow and infiltration, you probably won't have to do anything much at that plant at all to meet compliance under the new regime. But there's some money to be spent to reduce that inflow and infiltration, and we've got a game plan now as to how that would happen. All right, I'll keep moving.
Just making a point that our Rangitukia River catchment collectives that have done so much work and reducing contamination to the rivers and iwi are probably not going to be particularly happy that we can continue to operate as basically as we are. But that's the position of the standards and government.
And if we do what we do with the network here and reduce this infiltration and flow, council won't be operating as they are at that plant. It'll be completely different. Just because of the volume
of the small plants
that we're reducing.
areas of-
Yeah. But yeah, the small plant standards will challenge a number of stakeholders out there.
Yeah.
Councillor Adam?
Separation of stormwater and wastewater, is that at a residence or there's,
It's both.
do you know? so
Yeah, it's
the
both.
cost will be the resident will need to do.
Oh,
that
it's a good
separation?
point. Yeah, we'll talk about this. It's just on a couple of slides and council needs,
Further on in the presentation.
council needs to understand if we go down this path, they'll be putting requirements on, potentially on ratepayers to front up
That's what one of
and
those-
fund responsibilities that they have now in an election year. Is that, I don't know, what I'm not, yeah. So the II, what I call the II program. So we've divided the network up into various catchments. We've got the data already from flow gauging that's been done there. We're currently just finalising what are the sort of inflow and infiltration key performance indicators. There's a set of those. They're defined in the Water New Zealand manual. It's the thing I wrote. So everything's getting done according to best practice in the industry, right? So we're quantifying those. They are well in excess of what I have published in those guidelines as trigger point threshold values on, if you're exceeding those, you should be doing something about it. They're well beyond those, I can tell you that now, even though I haven't got them defined. So the next stage, you're using the results of that analysis, that numerical analysis, to then, in another level of detail, go into those catchments and do a range of field works that will identify the specific causes of this problem, be it inflow or infiltration. About 10 years ago, council did a range of smoke testing works there where you pump, it's not actually smoke, it's like vaporized. It's like vape, okay? What people call vape these days. You put that into the sewer and you see where it comes out. And if it comes out, say, through people's downpipes, you know that the stormwater is connected to the sewer. You do visual inspections around the house so that if the gully trap's actually draining the backyard, you know you've got an issue. So the gully trap needs to be raised. So there has been a program done and we've got the results of that. And the intent is to pick that up and run with it and verify that those results are still current, because there was no initiative done when that testing was done to actually follow that through and get those defects rectified. They're on property defects, okay? So they are the responsibility of the homeowner to fix up. I'm assuming council. So this is the thing about where's the money spent? Is it best on the network or on the treatment plant? People have a responsibility to look after their own assets. If we go down this path, council will be forcing ratepayers to spend money to fix up defects on their property.
Yeah, understanding the cost and effect of this, understanding also that responsibility sits with the homeowner. But council also has the opportunity to say, we would be prepared to look at some sort of loan fund structure against the property but in a long-term view to correct this.
It's all sorts of things I've seen over the years of do 0 to 100% payment and everything else in between through subsidies or whatever. And you put a thing on the levy and all that sort of stuff about a liability. There's all sorts of things. So we just need to work out, and it'll be subject to the subsequent sort of material I present, but where does council want to sit on those spectrum?
Councillor Wong.
Steve, what are your colours for?
They're just the catchments. So there's no traffic light sort of thing there, councillor. They're just so we can distinctly see different catchments that drain to those particular gauges. So
Any questions?
Yeah, we're pushing on.
So the nature of these tests are such that you have to go into people's properties, okay?
Yeah.
And there's a whole PR campaign that I've got Sophia now working through as to how that might look, and the letter drops and websites and Facebook pages and all that sort of stuff. So particularly the councillors from the ward up there, this will get, look, we're going down this path. There's a community visibility thing here. So we need to precursor that, if you like, with a publicity campaign or awareness campaign. So you'll be seeing that coming through as soon as we can get that sorted. And part of coming here today was just obviously us socialising this with councillors, particularly
A couple of hands going up.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
Yeah.
this has been done before in our area,
yes.
I believe, hasn't it?
Yes, but
Yes.
like the smoke testing was done 10 years ago in Coyote, but the defects weren't rectified.
I do remember
Yeah.
going through this.
It's also been done in Martin a few years ago as well. Councillor Dalgety.
So, we've got small plants, a plant of 1,400 people and below. How close to 1,400 is Taiapi?
No, this is what I'm just trying to verify. It's not so much the 1,400, it's how much BOD the system is putting out per day. That's the actual limit. And it roughly equates on normal theoretical design basis to about 12 or 1,400 people. Now, the information I've got is the population type is about 16 or 1,700. So, but they're only, the population is only a guideline. It's actually the BOD levels that is the
So what I'm
determinant.
saying is if, over time, if we're right on the edge, are we just cutting ourselves short because we're going to be blowing those levels?
No, I don't think so at the moment. We're just trying to
Or
confirm.
going forward 10, 20, 30?
Well, it depends how big Taiapi is going to grow.
Well, it's not
yeah.
expected to grow a lot,
Yeah.
but,
But I'm just trying to see with this BOD levels, how much headroom council's got at the moment between what it is now versus the 85 kilos per day limit.
yeah, okay.
And if that is a significant, if we're only doing 60 kilos per day, when we've got, another 20% headroom or whatever, then you would think you'd be safe within the time zones we're talking about.
Andy.
Steve, the individual dots on the maps that you've shown, are they the properties that have been tested?
No,
or
no.
Are they the properties that are tested and have an issue?
They're just manholes actually, any of those ones. Yeah, I do now, I didn't put in the slide set because I produced this last week, but I do now have a map that has those properties on it. I haven't got it with me, but it was on my computer.
Properties with problems.
Yeah.
But so there are a large number of properties that don't have a problem.
Correct. But the interesting thing is the identified defects, now assuming they're still current 10 years later, they're spread throughout the network. They're not concentrated really with any one particular part of town.
We do have a few more slides, so really quickly, Pete and
I
councillor.
have one question. This information, would that be going on to properties limb
Well, this is a decision council needs to make.
After the election.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are several decisions. Councillor.
Providing the
This is-
information here
this is
and the
really-
options.
This is really just some information that has been reported to us on our plants and an issue that's been found in Taiapi. So there's no decisions being made on this. It's just been brought to us. There's going to be a lot of further discussion on this.
Yeah. So my intent is to quantify how much II is getting in the network, how much it's going to cost to reduce it, and is that money best spent there rather than the treatment plant? Okay. I can say, I reckon if you went full noise on this and did an absolutely comprehensive rehabilitation program, you could reduce the II down by about 75%. I've done that with projects myself. I've been involved in Auckland and in Australia. But you're going to have to throw money at the network to do that, to achieve that outcome. So it's a question then, how much money do you throw at it to achieve what you need to at the treatment plant? There's that balance, there's a scale. Where do you want to sit on that scale? I'll keep moving.
Let's keep moving.
So this is the engagement plan. So you'll see stuff coming through from council now and Sophia's team about engagement and what's going on and all that sort of stuff. All right. So that's the intent. You can't do these inspections without having this stuff out there
Exactly.
in the public forum and the awareness and stuff. That's just interesting timing where we're at. So elections in 3 months' time. So anyway, so that'll come through. I'll keep moving. At Ratna, so the current solution, people understand, to pump to a land disposal site near the Whangaehu River and have a big winter storage and irrigate to land in summer. And the capex of that is, I've seen it, I'm trying to type, the numbers are between $8 and $10 million, which for 350 people is pretty, it's getting up there, isn't it? I'm saying that politely. All right, so what I've been, I had some suspicions about what was going on there, because there's the water source at Ratna is groundwater. The groundwater, just like at Martin, has got high hardness levels. At Ratna, the treatment process to reduce the hardness is to use a salt-based softening process. The salt stays in the water through the use cycle and is part of the wastewater. The levels of salinity in that wastewater are far too high to irrigate anything. Okay. Land irrigation will not work. It will kill anything you put, unless it's some bloody salt bush thing from out the back of nowhere in Australia. That's about the only thing that will survive. And that ain't going to happen. So we've looked at alternatives, all right? Now that is, whatever that's happened, that's the process, that's where we've been. Why was this? Look, that's just where we are at the moment. I'm glad we picked this up before we actually proceeded with that current solution. Would have been embarrassing to irrigate land and then find you can't do that.
The land that we were talking about wasn't purchased by Rangitikei District Council. It was private land that it would have been irrigated to. Is that right?
No, I think council purchased that land.
Oh, down by the water.
Yeah.
4 hectares.
That's quite a lot. It's about
That was for the
5 hectares.
Yes.
So this is a bit of a rough diagram. I'm no graphic artist, but the blue line is the current proposal. Okay. The two alternatives I've looked at and am looking at when there was the CCO with Whanganui on the table was to pump, and you can do this, you pump from the ponds at Ratna to the prison connection at Kaitoki in Whanganui district. And then given what the discharge standards are now saying, I think one option worth considering is to discharge to a small outfall, a short length outfall, which you can do straight from Ratna, or you could even pick up Kotiata and reticulate that and push it out an outfall there. Now, there's all sorts of I'm just looking at engineering feasibility at the moment, right? There's a whole heap of issues about sea outfalls and the receiving environments and cultural issues associated with that. But we would be silly not to look at these alternatives.
Putting salt water in salt.
Well, there's the cultural issue of the sea discharge and marine discharge.
It's not just salt though, is it? It's aluminium salts.
Correct.
Yeah, it's different.
So
Sorry, I just have to, that is not correct. So what the ion exchange does, it exchanges sodium chloride, the sodium part of sodium chloride for calcium.
Yeah.
So it's calcium chloride.
calcium.
It's harmless, and it's actually in some instances it is actually quite valuable because of the calcium that goes with it. So just to
Kills
correct.
everything, but it's harmless.
Well, salt doesn't, even sodium chloride that we put on our food will kill stuff if you put too much of it.
So the work I'm involved in at the moment, the current option was about $8 or $9 million, right? I reckon to pump to Kaitoki, we could halve that, but you're subject then to a trade waste agreement with Whanganui if you were not in a CCO with them. And then there's, where could that go? And are you, they could, you're at their mercy really. If you're not in the CCO, if you're in the CCO, it doesn't matter. You're part of the same system. So that's a bit of an unknown. So to cover that risk, I thought, well, let's look at potentially picking up Kotiata at the same time and pushing it out through an outfall there.
Steve, just in terms of your comment, it doesn't matter if you're in a CCO with them. I beg to differ because the CCO, even if you're a regional CCO, the CCO then can still set a pricing dependent on a catchment rather than a uniform pricing. So the CCO could levy a charge back against a member of the entity. So it doesn't significantly change that position.
Okay. So my initial word that certainly if you're looking just at that cost will be even less. But if you're picking up Kotiata, then there's a reticulation cost for Kotiata as well. Mindful of time, so I'll keep moving through. So Martin Balls, this is the major project, obviously, in terms of wastewater. So we've come up with 6 options. Options 1 and 2 involve 100% discharge to land. And the idea is to look at 2 options there. one of which is with II reduction and one without. So in terms of the concept, the treatment is located at the council purchased land that's upstream from Bulls. So we use the pipeline that's currently in the ground, and then at some point there's a pump station in the middle that pumps it up to that land. Okay. Now what it's saying is without the II reduction program, we need more land than what's there at the moment. Right. So the current block of land will only cater for about 65% of the flow that we'd be trying to irrigate over the year. So you need a big storage, you need big storage, but still then it's not enough. Now, if you throw money at the network and seal up the network, then you will probably have just enough land there, but there's a cost to that. So we're just looking at the comparison of those two at the moment. There's 100% discharge to land option with both those cases, but the land is up at the council site. Without the II reduction, you'd have to buy more land for that option to work. Right. So option 3 is a hybrid where we're actually looking at the land and the river. And this is common around this part of the world. In summer, you discharge to land, and in winter, you discharge to river. The treatment is, the bulk of the treatment facility is actually located down at Bulls. All right. Because it's the river discharge which is governing the treatment process there. And then you pump all the treated effluent up to the irrigation site, which is the council land. All right. In summer, and you discharge into the river in winter. All right, option 4 is 100% discharge to the river. And once again, the treatment facility is at Bulls. And that, you recall that table, based on the current flows, you're in that medium dilution category.
Is that plant at Bulls capable of handling Martin?
Sorry.
Or does that get treated at Martin and then dumped?
We retain I'll preface all this, we're retaining the ponds at both Martin and Bulls, but refurbing them. So they do impart some treatment capability, but they're also being used as buffer storages. So you can manage the flow down that pipe then better. The extra treatment process that you need for both towns is located at Bulls under this scenario.
Just a small matter. So we're looking at that pipe work as being completed, but we've had a number of reports over time that said there are some bridges that had to be put in place. Where is that process?
That's just getting through the final stages of consenting at the moment.
So it's still in consenting, so it's not a complete network at the moment.
Yeah, we've got Ngāti Apa and Parawahawaha. They've signed the consent approval documentation that Horizon's put out. There's some dialogue going on with Tū Wharetāua as well now about that, because there's a Tū Wharetāua landowner down near Bulls that Horizons have picked up on and said we've got to get their approval of that as well.
The bridges, as my understanding is, they're not within Tū Wharetāua land.
Correct.
They're not within Parawahawaha land. They're like Ngāti Apa's whenua.
We're just working through that process with Horizons as well.
Just
There's crossings, there's waterway crossings at 3 locations. Yeah, it's pretty frustrating.
Yeah,
totally.
Not being frustrated.
Councillor Dalgety.
Option 3, what percentage of discharge would go to river, please?
I don't have a hard number on that, council, at the moment, sorry. I could get back to you on that. As an overall volume, I can't recall that number. The team has it, but I don't have it in here at the moment, sorry.
Councillor Wong.
I'll get, yeah.
The II reduction.
Yep.
Across the board, very rough figures, what sort of costs?
I reckon 15 million.
across all.
across the two networks.
It's much
That's a pretty
like-
comprehensive job, yeah.
And Taihape,
Oh, sorry, Tomahappy's separate to the,
yeah, but how much of that?
I haven't got that number
Oh,
yet.
and
Now you're really putting me on the spot.
just compared to, you know, partner rate and stuff, so.
Maybe, Tomahappy,
I don't want to be just throwing numbers out
Yeah.
off the top of your, off your
yeah,
top of your head.
I mean, that's a number, to be honest, councillor, within a few working days, I'll have that number.
Yeah,
for
so fine,
Tomahappy.
we compare it to
Yeah.
improvement.
Just remember, this is just an information update on some of the issues that we are facing around our wastewater network, which Steve's bringing to us. Again, there are no decisions here. There will be lots and lots of questions. I can see that's certainly needing to go to a further workshop, for some more detail as Steve works through this. But we'll just keep pushing on through the.
Yeah, so we've talked about option 5 is really an academic exercise. It's what would the cost be if we still had to stick to One Clean standards, all right? This is the highest level of treatment. And the kit, you're getting into some membrane treatment processes and stuff, it's not cheap infrastructure. And then option 6 is where we're discharging the river with an IO reduction regime. So we're throwing money at the reticulation. You definitely will get into those high dilution standards. And I reckon to meet those contaminant requirements, you could almost run the system just with refurbished ponds. So you're balancing the cost of the network upgrades with the treatment infrastructure. And we haven't got a handle on exactly, but yeah, you'd almost be able to do that with well set up and operating ponds. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Which I would say that's not the current state of the ponds at the moment.
No, yeah.
All right, so just be aware of that. There's other work to be done, but you're still using the ponds. All right, so just a couple of trade-based issues coming through. So the scenarios at the moment, we're incorporating the ANSCO flows. Yes, that's ANSCO. Well, it's called Manual 2. I'm not sure why we called it that. It's the Bulls plant of ANSCO anyway.
Let's go, Manuel.
Yeah, it's not Rangatiki.
Brian?
Yes. Finally got to.
This has just gone
There's
through.
2 hands ago.
It's taken 5 years, Brian.
And so in doing that, you'd have them as a trade-based customer. And one of the things in setting up a trade-based agreement with that is you have to put a number on what's the impact of the treatment of the project due to their flow, what's the incremental cost due to their contribution, and there's a high BOD load there. So we just need to enumerate that, and then that would be the basis of a trade-based agreement, plus the operation costs. And obviously, the discussion we've had with Parawakwa and Ngāti is that they would certainly favour one less discharge direct to the river. In Martin here, there's a few discharges at the moment we're looking at, particularly the malt plant, whether it's viable for pre-treatment there. Is it better to pre-treat their flows rather than cater for the BOD loads that's putting out at the plant? I haven't got the answer to that yet, but we're not far away from doing that. Is all this a CCO task potentially with trade-based agreements and the
That's
like?
true.
Yeah. All right. So just in terms of the timeline, we'll have cost estimates through by the end of this month in a couple of weeks' time. Te Whānau Ārai are telling me that the standards will be finalised mid-August, and then our intent is to have a workshop with the tech team on the 8th of September, at which we would, as a technical team at least, identify a preferred option. All right. And then we'd bring that through the council processes, committee meeting, and obviously, ideally, the last council meeting, which I understand is the 26th of September. The last current council meeting before the election process.
No, October, I've been told.
Is it? Okay.
Councillor, go again.
So standards are finalised then, when is it likely to become law?
They'll take a couple of months through the process from there. Once it goes, they're not doing it through consultation select committee stuff. I'm not sure why that is, but they'll have that in place within 3 months, I would say. From
Steve, level of confidence that those Te Mata Arawai standards will be finalised mid-August?
Um,
To take that as a little
If I
bit.
was a betting man, I'd say it'd be 60% chance by mid-August.
Which would affect all your other decision
That's
making
what it's,
processes.
it's,
Great.
and in program, as we say, it's on the critical path, yeah.
I assumed it was in red for a reason.
Yeah. So if for whatever reason, but I mean, I've had enough dialogue with Te Mata Arawai, I reckon we've got the finger on the pulse there, so they would tell me, but we've had direct engagement about this project, I know as part of that, about this project and our timelines and their timeline to finalise the standards. So we have a good understanding as to where they're at. They would say if they're not going to hit that date, they'd tell us. I mean, sort of in a level of contact with them, they would almost regard as pestering.
So that's still pushing for it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Just if I could just reference this slide here, and I think for this committee's, the most important is bring to a future A&I committee workshop meeting. There is going to be a huge number of questions about this. Steve is going to be in a much better position, I hope, by then to understand what's happening, particularly the work that he's doing with Te Mata Arawai. And we will certainly have a greater understanding of what's going on. Lots of options for us to consider, and we're not going to solve any issues now. So
That's an update more than anything.
Yeah,
Okay, so
that's good.
another month from now, we'll know. We'll have some
We'll know a
more
lot more.
definition on some of these numbers, comparative numbers. Yeah.
Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear about the PR campaign. Thank you. Regarding Taihepi particularly, the I&I, it's the inflow that I'm most concerned about, because once you take that inflow out of the sewers, which is obviously going into hugely, where's it going to go? So I think that has to be a big part of the plan.
Yeah, that's always part of the solution. Yeah, what is there an adequate stormwater network there? And often a good eye reduction program is actually putting in better stormwater capacity. Yeah, but we'll have to look at that once we know. We've got full sort of visibility of the contribution of inflow versus infiltration. Yeah.
Does that wrap us up on that presentation for you, Steve, on that one? Thank you for the update. Again, lots of questions bouncing around in everybody's heads. We do have to push on with our scheduled meeting today. Thank you, Steve, for your time. Thank you for your update. We have got those slides to it. So I think it's hard enough for everyone to commit to go look at those slides again later with perhaps a fresh set of eyes and a greater understanding. So we will push on. Thanks. Steve, I'll move from the chair that report be received.
Oh, no, we'll do that.
We'll do that later on when we get to it on the scheduled item.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Steve.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
see you, Steve.
Thank
Thank
you so much.
So moving on to item number 9 on today's agenda, report for information, voting update. Yeah.
Apart from our big news with the contract starting, this time of year is pretty much business as usual. Hoping to get through without any significant weather impacts. Last week we got a little hit on Thursday when we got about 50 mil, which was sort of on the cusp of things happening, but we got away with that one. Problem when that happens is if we get another similar dump within a few days, we start getting things falling down. So we're a bit lucky there. So down I've hit the ground running really. On Tuesday morning down at King Street, it was like a beehive. It's hive was everywhere. During the day, just getting things ironed out. The next day, pretty much the same, but now we hardly see them. They're up and dressed before most of us get there. So, and they're working across the road at Matt Dirk's yard and overflowing into King Street offices when they need to.
I'm very impressed with how quickly that's been happening at Berg's.
Yeah.
How did you manage that? Because we can't get anything quick normally. New footpath and gates and fences and buildings. Awesome.
Yeah, it's going pretty well. So there's a few issues ongoing, obviously teething issues. One is that building there is, it's like a hive for flies. It's coming from down the Masterson Way somewhere. There must be a nest of them in there. Every time you clean them out, there's another lot there the next day. So
Cluster flies.
Yeah. It looks a little bit rough at the moment.
It does, yeah. We're going to get a water blaster on it and tidy up. So plans to keep all that tidy and get it looking the part. So they did some inductions before they started last few days of June. So Mayor Andy and Arno and Carol were offered to speak and welcome them along, which I think from council's point of view shows them how important this is to us, and it all went pretty well.
Because the Prime Minister's visit, I couldn't get to.
Oh, sorry.
So that's it's an absolutely apology, and thank Dave for being part of that. But I wouldn't mind, Darren, with you just going for a cruise around the depot and introducing myself at some stage. We can do that.
No problems. Just a couple of things on that. Most of the people from Higgins have come over, including some of their more senior managers and supervisors and things. So yeah, it's really good for us as far as continuity goes. They know the network well, and they know where they're up to as far as work programs go. So reasonably seamless so far. We haven't had any issues apart from silly teething issues with getting into buildings or whatever. But those things are working themselves out.
Is that normal that people just jump across like that?
Yeah.
Just depending on where the work is, I guess,
Yeah, I
and where
mean,
they want to live.
most of these companies, even big outfits, they don't have people on the shelf. So when they get a contract like this, they're looking to pick up who they can to bring over.
No brand loyalty.
And as long as they are capable, obviously.
Yeah. So they've probably a good chance to reset.
Yeah, we might just push on with that one, guys. It's all for the operations too.
So just update on the depots. Council's got pushing ahead with our kind of ownership and pretty much oversight of those. Martin, we've got a building coming on to the King Street site. That'll be hopefully within 2 months, maybe shorter. Going through the consent process, got an architect handling all that for us. So there's lots of fire reports and accessibility reports and access ramps and things like that. Even for the Portacom across the road, same sort of deal. We're quite close to the boundary, so we have to have a firewall there. There's lots of things happening in the background there to get things compliant. In the meantime, office staff are working out Follett Street. So got space for 8 people up there. That seems to be going pretty good. We had a morning tea to welcome along to the team up there. They all seem pretty heavy. On the other side of that, the Higgins contract is wound down. We did a compliance audit at the end to identify any things that weren't up to scratch as far as their lump sum work goes. And they worked across that over the last 2 months to target those items. Also got a bond in place for 12 months just to cover us up anything that goes wrong with work for the next 12 months. And to be honest, working with them has been pretty easy. It's been a good relationship. And now they're our tenant in Taihebi. I didn't touch on the Taihebi depot there. We've got the building at the front of the existing Higgins depot that we're able to use. It's not part of their lease agreement on that property. So we've based the down stuff out of there. We've got some yard space at Byford's around the corner. Until the Higgins lease is over, then we'll move in to occupy that whole site.
Councillor Duncan, you've got a question regarding code?
Yes, thank you. This is a question or a few things, points that I've shared with our chair. Thank you, Dave. And it's really around this with the changing over of the contracts. It's an opportunity to bring a few problems that are happening in Taihebi, with particularly behind the Kokako Street Hall and the storage of gravel. And at various times, there are large piles that restrict that space, which has increasingly got pressure on it with access to Ngāawa and the park, the walking tracks, the horse events, etc. And we've had several occasions where people have come to people and groups have come to the Taihebi Community Board to say, please, can we have those that gravel taken elsewhere, ideally, or at least positioned where it doesn't restrict access, etc. Because this is putting pressure on the trucks that rely on using that parking space. And we have a huge number of trucks in Taihebi overnight, and they park in all the wrong places if that area is not available. Weka Street, I don't know whether you're aware of the damage that's been done to the berm, and that's all opposite residential houses. And we have had a problem that has been dealt with especially refrigerated trucks parking there and the noise, people, residents can't sleep. That's actually now been referred to the police as a police matter, but that, you don't want Auntie Anne going out in the middle of the night in her slippers to ask someone to turn their truck off and then have to ring the cops. So anyway, it's a big problem.
Yeah, so there's lots going on there as far as that site goes. It shouldn't be there. And there was quite a few sites deferred in Taihape last year reseal program, so we missed the opportunity to get the gravel on the road. So shouldn't have, it was initially in the middle of the site. We had it moved to the front corner. Initially we wanted it in that front corner so the residue would start to form a hard stand area for trucks to park on. So there would have been a little bit of a trade-off there, but the fact that it's still there is because of the reseals being deferred. Every time you move a stockpile site, you lose a certain amount because they can't scrape the bottom. So, and we don't have a close alternative. So the cost to transport that away would it be a little bit, it's not cost effective. So going forward, if we can leave it there until about November, when the reseals start, it'll go. And then for future reseals, we'll find somewhere else. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Right, are you happy that that's
Yeah.
where that can go? And
So after November, we're looking at it being taken away, and then from that point forward, it would be done somewhere else.
So
Or stored, I should say.
we try to get the reseal program up to do it in efficient groups rather than a scattergun approach. So Taihape's getting in the north is getting a really good hit this year.
Mm.
So we probably won't be back there in force for probably 3 years. It'll start next time we'll be down here in the middle, just try and work it like that. There will be things up there we need to do, but not to that extent. So we can manage it better.
right, thank you,
Thanks, Dan.
Dan, for that, and also thank you, Jill, for your questioning and getting that sent through to me nice and early so that we can get some clarity around that and get some understanding and get some go forward on that matter, which I gather has been bouncing around up in Taihape for a wee while there. So thank you for your vigilance on that one, Dan. Moving on through the rest of your report.
Yeah, the next one's it's a little bit operational around the Taihape nature, but I wanted to labour the point about that road and how fragile it is. So this is one patch. It's a little section, maybe 200 metres long,
Mm.
and it's really turned to custard to the point where maybe the next step would have been a closing of Taihape traffic.
Jeez.
So I saw a video of that, and it was like a beach. There's trucks going along, and they dropped their tyres, and the road was just waving. They're getting stuck. They chain themselves together and pull them up. So it's just it's a mess.
Mm.
I think we've got it under control. We did another patch repair there with quite a high cement content, which you don't normally do because it's quite brittle, so it won't last that long. But it'll get us through winter, hopefully, and then we'll do a proper area-wide pavement repair.
Right, lots of hands coming up on this one. I'll just perhaps take permission there, Andy, on this one, because I know that stretch of road is something that Andy has been working on for a number of years with NZTA. Andy.
I think there's a very urgent need for fairly significant governance action with regard to this. But there's a whole lot of understanding that I need from both your guys and through Arno, and then subsequent discussions with NZTA around especially the summer program and who pays for it. We also have the complication of the logs that are going by rail now, that contract ends in December. So a number of parties have been in touch with me about what happens post-December, where you get another 800 odd tonne per day. There are also discussions around what happens with TNY and a potential repurposing of that. So there's a whole lot of parties that intend getting together. But there's a sequence here between us and NZTA first. So it is a complicated space, but to just say within the report that we will have to defer a huge amount of funding, 26, 27, 27, 28. At some stage, we have to have this conversation with NZTA saying we just literally can't afford as a district to support this road in the way that we are players. So started down that discussion path already.
Okay, so just before I go to the couple other hands up, Darren, you said you'd seen some videos and bits and pieces. I'll be starting to get those shared with the mayor and some other contacts and formulating a report of urgency on this, which I'm sure you'll be able to work directly with through Arno, Darren, and is that an appropriate step?
I would suggest we could even put it up as a follow-up action that we'll start a conversation between His Worship, myself and Darren.
Yeah.
And we can discuss this in more detail and plan the way forward.
Yeah, we capture that as a follow-up action. Thank you.
This discussion goes probably potentially beyond NZTA and possibly an application to the Regional Infrastructure Fund through Minister Bishop.
Yeah, I think the issue is that significant that we do really need to go as far up the tree as we can on this one. But let's start by getting on an action list and let's get that conversation happening. But at least we're recording that. Councillor Loudon.
Oh, I was just going to raise the same issue. Andy's in the past has talked about making it, or hoping to make it a state highway. The Taupo and Napier Road State Highway. This road joins two state highways on either side. It's an important link between the east and central New Zealand. And what is the process to apply to make it a state highway?
Well, certainly Andrew's going to answer that question because he's been working on that subject for 20 years and banging his head
What is
against.
the process?
The process is a formal process around a business case through NZTA formed by both councils, by Hastings District Council and ourselves. We got it to the business case proposal one stage, and government at that stage just stepped in and said they can't afford it. They recognise that this is a road of significance, but they're not proceeding. It's a governmental position, but there is a process, and we try and follow it. And part of the discussions I have will be with Hastings District Council as well. So we won't operate in isolation here.
Councillor Duncan.
So that was my point, the whole connecting up of our councils, because Hastings has to be involved. Can I also suggest that there should be some thought around the fact that there are at least 2 wind farms that are looking to in part use that road, and that needs to be part of the conversation. That infrastructure is going to be huge.
Sorry to belabor this point. I mean, you're absolutely right. In those conversations, any wind farm activity should be funded by the wind farm in terms of their damage. But also there is, in terms of saying we need to do this work in the summer, unfortunately also that has to be very carefully controlled because the greatest activity from an agricultural point of view is the summer. So we had 2 or 3 years ago, the Kurupango Bridge was undertaken by Hastings. We weren't kept informed. They closed the bridge at a time that was the worst possible time for places like Timahamga, Ngamatea Station. They paid literally probably hundreds of thousands of dollars of extra cartage. That's when all of their stock get moved, all their trading stock. That's when all the fertiliser comes in, etc. So they've got to be kept absolutely in the loop around timeframes.
Yeah. Perhaps a final question for you, Councillor Delgatti, sorry.
So I'm just interested in back to what's in front of us here, with a view of trying to do it once and do it well. But so the repair was successful, but as a temporary measure. So who comes back in over the summer and who pays for that repair? That's permanent. Higgins or Downer?
ADC. It'll be through down the contract.
So it goes. So what I'm saying is, when does it transition from Higgins did not a good enough, an inadequate job?
They were fighting the weather at the time. It didn't have much of a chance of the success of that initial repair. what we've done is known to be temporary with so much cement in it. Just to get it through. We had to do something there, otherwise we would have.
The key word would be potentially an accepted temporary repair. That'd be right in suggesting that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think for both those repairs, we had no choice. We couldn't leave it the way it was. Trucks couldn't get across it. So
Right.
at the time of the year and the weather conditions, those were the best repairs we could do at the time to make it work, but we knew that they wouldn't last.
Thank you.
But I don't think anybody sitting around this table is not going to endorse and support all the actions that we've just discussed. Let's get pen to paper, let's get everybody in the room that we need to, and rattle this cage quite loudly and strongly. So we would endorse and support any actions that need to take to get the matters rolling. School signage, low cost funding is
Yes.
we're successfully in that application.
Approved as what we requested. So next step is to engage with schools to make sure we've got the right times for the static stuff, and get signs in.
Councillor Duncan, you'll know electronic VSS
Yeah,
as opposed
thank
to
you so
static.
much. Really appreciate the advocacy on this one because it's really needed. But while I've got the stage, I would like to say that Mangaweka is a big problem. We're still, crying out for help there, and of course it's NZTA. But the crossing and the signage, that school is, it's desperate, really.
So they'll be under the same mandate as us to get that school done by the end of this financial year. I haven't seen the program, but that's what we all have to adhere to. So I'm expecting they would have to as well.
Excellent.
I'll follow up on that though.
Yeah, if you could note for that, but whilst this is, it's funding approved, and I don't question any of the need. You should also be reminded to everybody there that it's $64,000. That is our local share. That is ratepayer funded. So it's a win, and yes, it's under our FAR rate, but we still pay as well. So it's but it's good news that we can then push on with some of these safety improvements. So thank you.
That's it from me.
I'll move. Any further questions? I don't think so. We've had a little bit of a thrash out of that one. Thank you for your work there, Darren. Move from the chair that the report be received, seeking a seconder. Councillor Lambert. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Consent compliance, Arno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll move on this fairly quickly. Under the water supply takes, the one that surprised us a little bit would be Ratana. That's gone over in 2 days. So we're paying a lot of attention to that network to figure out why the flow has gone up so much. It's winter time, it shouldn't be now. So we'll have a look at all the customers and we'll have a look at leaks and all the rest to see what's driving that. The second part of this is the bacteriological compliance. Up in Bulls, we've done a lot of repairs to one of the filters. That makes the dosing of chlorine quite tricky. Depends on what we're doing on the one side. We only have half the plant, so that will be driving the Bulls. And then the rainy weather would be the reason for the Hunterville non-compliance. When it rains, the salt content goes up and we have a differential pressure issue. And then on the wastewater side, you can see lots of challenges across the district. We are working with the team to see how we can improve those. But yeah, they are challenging. And again, Hunterville, Happy has the daily flow problems that we will not be able to comply with. And we are working on the others.
With the report that we heard from Steve and earlier on today, that is going to have a direct effect on all these compliance issues that we're facing here. The two are co-joined, aren't they? If we do these things here, then we're going to reduce these environmental impacts of non-consuming. Is that correct?
That's correct. So in Happy, the unfortunate thing is the volume was set just incorrectly, and even with I&I, we would struggle to achieve that. So just not to create unrealistic expectations.
But the Happy consent is due for renewal. So a proper number would be applied for at that time.
Yes. Okay. So any questions?
Yes. Sure.
Oh, just reflecting on the possibility of a new water source. It was mentioned to me on that the road trip we did, the site visit of the potential source, and someone mentioned that in fact one of the big problems with Taihape is also that when we have rain events, we have a huge amount of silt and what have you from our source, our current source, and that potentially this new source, which is pure and without contamination, whether there's rain or not, would make a huge difference to compliance or treatment, the need for treatment. Is that worth bringing up at this point?
Chair, I think it'll save us some chemicals in the dosing, so we'd use less, although.
Filtration?
So we'll have a look at it in a lot of detail. I think the only thing we've got to realize, it's never going to be a secure bore. It's always going to be a spring, which means it could have contaminants in it, so we would still have to treat it. What we don't have to do is add the chemicals that we're adding at the moment to get rid of all that salt in the existing. So the treatment will definitely be less complex, absolutely.
Okay. Councillor Dalgety.
So my understanding is that the huntable number is incorrect as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that consent is coming up as well or not?
No, that consent is up for renewal in 2035.
Yeah, so
But if we do have the new standards, I would want to look at solutions for all of the plants to get them to be compliant and to have more realistic consents to govern this. So that's something that will come back to council, but I would like to look at all of them in a bit more detail.
I would also just think of this report that we've got here, and again, coming back to Steve's report earlier, we are to go into a workshop situation to understand what is our next best steps for our wastewater treatment plants. If we could just think about this and have an overall effect of what an action here also equals here, because the issues of non-compliance against our wastewater treatment plants isn't new to anybody sitting around the table. But I want to make sure that if we are taking action over here, it's going to have a direct effect to the positive nature beneficial effect here.
Yeah.
So I think there should be a conversation where these two things line up with regards to a future workshop. If you understand.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right. Yeah. So was there anything further from your report on it?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Councillor Duncan, happy to move. Look for a seconder. Councillor Carter, all those in favour? Aye. Against, that motion is carried. That's for the receipt of that report. Projects update report. Well, we've had that from Steve, so we'll move receipt of that. Now that's item 9.3 on the agenda. That was the land one, so we've moved through to the next stage. That was the wastewater treatment all the way through. Taihape, we've had Martin Water. 7.1, Martin offices and library facilities.
We've got Ishwa in the room to give us a quick update on that.
So the report for the soil contamination is due early next week, but I've got a heads up that except for those 3 tanks that they've found, the other 2 tanks have been removed and locked off. So there's there's a bit of a contamination around it, but nothing major. That's what I've heard, but we're still waiting for the final report to come in. Otherwise, I think we're just waiting for the workshop on August 7th or 9th. To look at requirements. Otherwise, the architects are on board. We're looking at the initial kickoff meeting and all that in the meantime. By the time we finish that workshop, we should be able to pass it on to the architects to start designing.
That time frame is on track with earlier indications. I think
that's right.
That we are still on track with that time frame. Thank you. Taihape Grandstand, Ishwar again.
We fixed a meeting with the community for the 21st of July, which is the following 2 Mondays from now. So depending on how that goes, then we'll come back and update.
Yeah, councillor Duncan has signalled an update regarding that earlier.
That's
Yeah.
just dead right. And just to say that the community is continuing to discuss and be in touch with each other. So it's looking quite positive.
Okay, thank you. Item 9, Taipei Town Hall development.
We've just set up a call with the councillors in Taipei, myself, Anu and Johan. And we've also looped in Maycroft and the architects to discuss those 2 points, which is one is the stadium height and the stage height.
Yes.
And the second one is what Councillor Jeff had pointed out, whether we wanted a floor latch. But the initial indication is the architects are not too keen about it, just because of safety concerns and the fact that you have to go around sealing those edges and the trip hazard and the sort of things. But yeah, we can discuss this during that meeting as well.
And those actions were a direct outcome of our last
That's
council meeting, I
right.
believe.
That's right.
Yes. So anything further on that particular one? Nothing. Moving on to the Martin Swim Centre, item 10.1 onwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just 2 things to pay attention to there. The first one is 10.8. I've put some dates around the timelines that we got from the engineers as to what we can expect. I think that's important so that the message out there when to expect what to happen. The other important point to make is Ishwa is going to deliver the project. So from this point onwards, Ishwa will start giving us the feedback on progress as he'll be driving the process.
Councillor Loudon,
Questions? That has been done, the geotech assessment?
It's happening as we speak, so they're finishing up later today.
okay, again, we had quite a discussion on this at our last council meeting, but it's good to see that we are pushing on and making some progress. The sooner we push on, the sooner we can get our desired outcome is to have the pool reopened again. And we can then continue on to see what the future of that facility looks like going forward with future decisions from council. So moving on to miscellaneous now, Scott's Ferry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The update there really is that we have started looking at tractors that can do the job and how much it would cost and where they could come from. But that's progressing, and the MOU, the iterations of reviewing, is coming to an end. So hopefully we would have a solution soon.
Mayor Andy, question from you?
Yeah, and the report says that this MOU is being shared with Horizons, RDC, the farmers, Scott's Ferry firefighting group. Why is it not being shared with the governors? They are responsible.
Yeah, it does say legal counsel, I know as well. But
If I may it's a really good question. It's just to finalize it. It's just going around to figure out what do we put in it, and then it'll come back to.
Yeah, where my concern is that, for instance, you get it finalised with all these parties, and then it comes to the governors, and the governors say, well, actually, and we have an issue with this. I just think that they should be in the mix at the same time.
yeah, I think that's, hearing your point, I would agree. Your issue, that's a fair point. Could it be circulated as it is now? If it's being circulated, it's circulated in a document, is it, or is it not?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. It's interesting, as we've gone through all the different parties and they've all contributed, there are a lot of challenges that we have to figure out. What I would suggest is I would love to bring a more detailed report back to council that touches on everything, on all possible options. Yeah, I think if I could, and then I take on board what His Worship's saying, then we would definitely include a representative from the governance to partake in that.
It's just 11.2 and picking up again more on what Mayor Andy has said. Says a draft has been created.
So the process has got to start somewhere. So we go to all 4 of those parties. We say, all right, what do you think your responsibilities are? What do you own? What do you have interest in? And what would you like to see? So we start putting it all together, and then it goes around. We get a legal view on it to say, yeah, that's reasonable or not reasonable. And then finally, there's a document on the table.
Can we capture that?
Yeah.
The process has identified some challenges, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure, which is possibly what
Mayor and himself has also said that there will be some challenges and there will be some, devil will be in the detail, but if we can just have it captured as part of a captured list, because we are mindful of time here, I'm sure we can capture the concern that Mayor Andy has raised.
My concern is I don't want a process final and effectively finalised for sign off that we haven't been able to contribute to, but also noting that this is a process that has taken unfortunately years.
That comment is not lost on the committee. Okay, with those points noted for action, I'll move that the report be received, seeking a seconded. Councillor Lambert, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against, that motion is carried. Where did we get to here? Dam safety regulations. It's 9.4. I know that some councillors attended a Horizons meeting recently where this subject was also raised. River catchment meeting, so take us through that.
Mr. Chair, yes, this report is to make councillors aware of the new regulations and what that could mean for us. What I've done is just a bit of a description of the history and where it's come from and how it's gone from being guidelines to being regulations. So there's changed everything. And then there's a breakdown of the additional requirements on council. So we need to do a monthly inspection. We need to create new reports. We need to, every 5 years, create new engineer-driven reports. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes with it. What's super important and important for the committee to know is both Dam B and C in Martin has been classified as high potential damage dams, dangerous dams. Under that classification, Horizons have a policy that goes hand in hand with the new regulation. It means that the engineers are compelled to notify Horizons. Horizons is then compelled to notify the property owners. That might come as a surprise to some property owners, and it's important for council to be aware before that happens.
They're notifying the property owners what, that they could get flooded?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Worship.
I've asked for further advice from John Rygo with regard to this. So my understanding is there are 5 dams within the Horizons catchment that are in this high priority areas. All 5 of those are within our district. They also have a policy that the cost will be reflected back to the ownership of those dams. So 3 of those dams are effectively come under Horizons portfolio, but the A, B and C dams don't. And estimated quotes in terms of those monthly inspections for one of them, $5,000 per month per dam. And I know that there is potential discussion of conversations with Arno around whether we can get somebody authorised or qualified to be able to do the inspections. But that's a very, very significant cost potentially to our district that we haven't built in terms of handle plans and so on, etc. So there's a lot of work still to go on in this space and a lot of thinking about it.
Yeah, you are right there, and that number was also mentioned at the recent Horizons meeting. And I think you're right in saying there's still a lot more work done because they didn't have the answers themselves, and we're still very much starting to work through what the implications were across all of our district, and primarily trying to understand, when is a dam, because, they were also referring to retention dams as potentially being affected as well. So
They are.
yes, they are, but
They're in that list of 3.
yeah,
But where I say that they're not our dams, they're effectively still a rate on our ratepayers by way of Horizons.
the point that I make about retention dam, whether a retention dam is not holding water, does it still need a monthly inspection? So there was lots of questions came out of it. Councillor Loudon, you were at that meeting, so I see you had your hand up.
I was just curious about earthquake assessment. You have a percentage for a building. Do these dams have a percentage earthquake prone component, or they just say they're not built to spec or how do you assess?
Through Mr. Chair, so how it works with the dams is interesting. They have a look at the method of how it was constructed, so they're all different. And then it has certain failure mechanisms that they then rate them on. So ours are earthen walls. So earthquake is one of the failure methods. The biggest risk for us is overtopping. Once it overtops, it'll just erode away and it'll be gone. So what they do in the regulations is the monthly checks will check for earthquake damage. If there's movement or a crack or whatever, we can see those. But there's a bit more time involved in those failures. It's the overtopping is the big risk for this. So it's failure mechanisms.
Councillor, that was the second question I had. Are the dams part of our Free Waters asset, and could they be transferred to a new entity?
So at the moment, we're looking at all our treatment plants and Three Waters installations to formalize that once we form a CCO, those assets, not all of it will go over to the CCO, but only the part that has the treatment plant on it. So it's interesting, up at the Martin Dam, all of it will stay with us, and the only bit will go to the CCO would be the new bore site. And actually, so going forwards, that will not be our drinking water source. It will be recreational use. And the bore will be the drinking water.
Which is what I'll do.
It is.
All right, we do need to push on time, so I'm going to have to limit a couple of questions here because we've got a couple of other minutes. We're now 11:15 and our workshop was due to start at 11. I'll take one further question.
No, it's just really a statement on those detention dams. Horizons already do a monthly inspection and they bring a digger out after every heavy rain event and clean your front of the dam out. So that's already underway. So.
Okay, we can just push on with that. Again, a lot of work to be done on that space. I'll move from the chair that the dam safety regulations report be received. Seeking a seconder, Councillor Carter. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Last item on our agenda here is we do need to move to public excluded. Looking at the minutes, that is simply to accept the public excluded meetings of a previous public excluded meeting. So I'm happy for the reasons that we do need to move to public excluded to accept that. Seeking a seconder, Councillor Moore. All those in favour? Aye. That motion is accepted. Thank you to those online. That now concludes our public meeting. Thank you.